Hey guys, this is Peschu. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to show you one of the more practical applications of price elasticity of demand, and this will be the relationship between total revenue and price elasticity of demand. To do this, we'll first have to define total revenue. And total revenue is the income that a firm earns for the sale of its product. Do not confuse total revenue with profit. Total revenue is simply the income that the firm is earning. A profit would be the total revenue minus the total cost. So the income minus the cost. Okay. More specifically speaking, total revenue would be equal to the price times the quantity of a product. And this will be the case when the firm is simply selling one product. Imagine that the firm is selling several products and each product has its own price. Then the total revenue in a more complex scenario would be so the price of product 1 times the quantity sold of product 1 plus the price of product 2 times the quantity sold of product 2 plus, let's say, Pn times Qn. So for end products that the firm is selling, you can do this and you would get the total revenue that the firm is earning. Now, let's examine this relationship between price elasticity of demand and total revenue. And the easiest way that we can do this would be to look at 3 specific cases, which I will illustrate in a second. And you will see how changes in the price will affect the total revenue. Before we do that though, let me just show you how you can illustrate the total revenue box. So let's say that we have a market. Okay, so this is demand for product A as seen by firm X. So demand for product A as seen by firm X. So this is not the whole market actually, this will be just a single firm, how it sees it's the demand for the product that it sells. And let's assume that this firm is selling at the price P1. And at the P1 we can immediately see that Q1 will be the number of units that the firm is selling. Since the formula for total revenue was given as P times Q, we can see that we have our Q here and we have our P here. So that's the P, and the area of this box would be equal to P times Q, i.e. this box is the total revenue for actually not for but from total revenue from A. Okay, so this is a total revenue box, and you simply get it as the box that's made from the quantity and the price. Right. Okay, now that we know this, we can examine the relationship between price elasticity of demand and total revenue. I'm going to have 3 diagrams next to each other so that we can see the differences. This is price, quantity, price, and quantity. And what I'm trying to achieve here is to have identical looking demand curves. In this example, the firm will be a price setter. This means that the firm can determine its own price. This is actually a fair assumption because in real life, most firms can choose their own prices, but we still need to say it specifically. So the firm is a price setter. So okay, let's choose two different prices. The first price, actually let's just start here. Imagine that this is the original price P1 and the original quantity Q1, and the firm decides to lower the price from P1 to P2. Like this. So we move from point A towards point B. Now, what is interesting is to see, first of all, in which part of the demand curve we are located. If you remember, the price elasticity of demand varies along a straight line demand curve. And in the upper part of the demand curve, the price elasticity of demand is elastic, and in the lower part, it's inelastic. I had a separate video showing that, but just a quick recap. It's something like this. So this is my demand curve, and this is the midpoint. And over here, the price elasticity of demand is unit elastic. Over here, the price elasticity of demand is elastic. And over here, PED is less than 1, so it's inelastic. Okay, that in a nutshell, that's all we are looking for. So definitely elastic PED over here. And now let's examine the changes of the two revenue boxes. I'm missing Q2. So total revenue 1 is equal to P1 times Q1. Total revenue 2 is equal to P2 times Q2. So effectively, we are talking about this first box and the second box. And we have one common area between them, being this one, this. What we can say is that lowering the price from P1 to P2, we are losing this red area, but instead we are gaining this green area. So we can summarize this by saying that as PED, we can summarize this by saying as P decreases and PED is greater than 1, so it's elastic, total revenue will rise. Okay, so over here, interestingly, as the price is falling and price elasticity of demand is elastic, the total revenue will increase. Now let's move to this case. Over here, I'm going to set the prices in the inelastic part of the demand curve. So this will be my P1, this will be my P2, with the corresponding Q1 and Q2 quantities. So once again, I'm lowering the price, and we're going to create two areas again. By lowering the price from P1 to P2 and examining the total revenue boxes, we can see that we will lose this red area. And we can gain this green area. So the green area is smaller than the red one, and thus we can summarize this that if PED is less than 1, so it's inelastic, and the price is falling, then total revenue will be falling as well. And finally, okay, so this, yes, over here we can just stress that PED is less than 1, it's inelastic. Finally, I'll choose the point where the price elasticity of demand is unit elastic, which is the midpoint. So PED like this is equal to 1, unit elastic. P1, Q1, and this, just go it 1 second. We'll color it green. This will be the maximum total revenue that the firm can earn. So this is maximum TR that a firm can earn. So let's actually see what's happening over here. If we start in the elastic part of the demand curve and we begin to lower the price, the total revenue will initially begin to increase. This will keep going until we reach this point where the price elasticity of demand is unit elastic, and from this point onwards, if we continue to lower the price, the total revenue will begin to fall. So this is why over here we can say that the total revenue will be maximized. In real life, firms do not necessarily need to maximize their total revenue. Usually firms prefer to maximize profit. And like I said, profit is different than total revenue. Total revenue is the case when we simply calculate the income, but profit is when we subtract the cost from income and then we see how much we have left. But there are many cases when the firm would prefer to increase their total revenue, perhaps for taking greater control of the market or simply to expand. And in that case, they need to consider the situation, what their price elasticity of demand is. For example, imagine that you have a situation where a firm that sells touristic services, so holidays, vacations, things like that, decides to increase their price. They may be hoping that by increasing the price, they will increase their total revenue, but if you examine what touristic services are, they tend to have very elastic price elasticity of demand, simply because people plan their vacation for a long period of time. They don't just decide to go on vacation. So the time factor says that a lot of time is involved in the purchase. There are many substitutes, because when you decide to go on a vacation, you can go to different places, and even if you go to the same place, there's different hotels that you can go to, so you need to make a choice between one place and another. Usually it's expensive, and the price as a proportion of income is quite high, and going on a vacation is a luxury, really. It's not a necessity for most people. So if you take all these factors into consideration, then touristic services will have very elastic price elasticity of demand. So notice, if you're a firm that sells touristic services and you decide to increase the price from P2 to P1, what actually will happen is that you will lose the green area and you will gain the red one. So in all, your total revenue will decrease. And it's important that the firm knows that this will be the effect of its actions if it decides to increase the price. Actually, a firm in the touristic sector would likely have to lower their prices in order to increase total revenue. If on the other hand, the firm is selling something, a product with inelastic price elasticity of demand, let's say, for example, medicine, an increase in the price of a medicine would almost always lead to an increase in the total revenue for the firm. One last diagram that we can show would be the relation between price elasticity of demand and total revenue in just a single diagram. Usually students get baffled when they see this. But it's not really that complicated. One second. If instead of drawing all these three diagrams, we wanna draw just a single diagram that illustrates the demand, the price elasticity of demand, and total revenue, we can do it this way. So this is my quantity and price, and this is my demand curve. Take note of the midpoint and the starting and the end points. Now, remember, total revenue is equal to the price times the quantity. At this point here, at the origin, my quantity is 0, my price is 0, so total revenue would be 0. So we'll start from here. At this point over here, the price is 0, the quantity is, it may tend towards infinity, but the price is 0, so once again total revenue will be 0. So the total revenue will start from here, it will rise, and then it would fall until it reaches this point. The question is, how long will it rise? Well, we saw that the total revenue is at its maximum at this midpoint here. So we can draw the total revenue like this. Let me use another color. It will increase until it reaches this point, and then it will fall until it reaches this point. And this is my total revenue. Sometimes students see this and they get confused, but it's nothing really that complicated. We just need to make sure that we mark this point as the point where price elasticity of demand is unit elastic, and we're set. Okay guys, that's it for this lesson. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the like button. If you had issues with it, let me know in the comment section. Hit the dislike button. You can subscribe, that will help, and I hope to see you again. I will probably make a few more videos on the applications of price elasticity of demand, but this was just one of them. Okay, take care. I would like to see you again. See ya.